Okay. I have a press statement for you as President of the Security Council. The members of the Security Council express grave concern over the worsening humanitarian crisis in northeast Sri Lanka, in particular the reports of hundreds of civilian casualties in recent days, and call for urgent action by all parties to ensure the safety of civilians. Strongly condemn the LTT for its acts of terrorism over many years and for its continued use of civilians as human shields, and acknowledge the legitimate right of the government of Sri Lanka to combat terrorism. Demand that the LTT lay down its arms and allow the tens of thousands of civilians still in the conflict zone to leave. Express deep concern at the reports of continued use of heavy caliber weapons in areas with high concentrations of civilians, and expect the government of Sri Lanka to fulfill its commitment in this regard. Demand that all parties respect their obligations under international humanitarian law. Call on the government of Sri Lanka to take the further necessary steps to facilitate the evacuation of the trapped civilians and the urgent delivery of humanitarian assistance to them. Take note of the steps taken by the government of Sri Lanka to address the humanitarian situation of displaced persons, and call on the government of Sri Lanka to ensure the security of those displaced by the conflict and to cooperate with the United Nations, the ICRC and other international humanitarian organizations in providing humanitarian relief and access to them as soon as they leave the conflict zone. Reiterate support for the personal involvement of the UN Secretary General and urge the government of Sri Lanka to extend full cooperation to the United Nations in order to resolve the humanitarian crisis. Mindful of the necessity to find a long-term solution without the threat of violence, underline that the needs of all communities of Sri Lanka have to be addressed. This is the text of the press statement.
Was there an earlier version that said long-term?
I'm not discussing previous versions. There have been a few.
How is that Russia agreed in the end? Isn't this the internal affairs of the
Because it's a balanced statement which addresses our concern with the challenges of the government of Sri Lanka fighting terrorism. Thank you very much.
Any elaboration on Gaza?